Hello, everyone. It's Monday, May 25th, 2020. This is Digital Trends Live, and I'm Greg Nibbler, and we're not actually live today, but we did want to bring you a very special show in honor of this. So I thank everybody who's joining us, whatever platform you are watching on. We appreciate it. We'll be back live tomorrow, but today we want to play some of our favorite interviews that have happened here while we've been in quarantine, and we've been able to speak to some pretty amazing people. I'm talking about Tom DeLonge coming up on this show. Yes, Tom DeLonge from Blink-182. He is going to be here on the show. We've got Trevor May, Major League Baseball player. We've got Greg Daniels, the creator of Upload, and we've got Cedric Yarbrough on this episode from Reno 911. But the first one that we're going to play is the one from Greg Daniels. Now, you may know him as the creator of Parks and Rec, one of the creators of The American Office, and also the creator of a new show called Upload. It's on Amazon Prime. I binge watched it right after talking to him during this interview because it's that good. But we have him here on the show. Really looking forward to seeing that again. And thanks to everybody who's joining us. Drop in your comments if you're watching live. Talk to your fellow watchers right now. But here it is coming up. It's Greg Daniels right here on Digital Trends Live. Let me just say this. Our next guest has probably created more of the shows that we binge than anyone else on the planet. Created, written, developed The Office, Parks and Rec, The Simpsons, King of the Hill. He's a mastermind of comedy. His new series, Upload, is debuting on Amazon Prime today with a very special premiere event that's going to be live streaming on Twitter. Joining us right now, we have Greg Daniels. Greg, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me. I am this backdrop here.
Something we're at
our event for our event later. This is the digital hotel lobby for the Upload concept.
I knew I recognized it actually because I was just watching the first episode this morning. I thought that looked familiar. Something that we're asking everybody too, just as we're all dealing with this, working from home. How are you holding up during quarantine? What's your experience been like so far?
It's different every day, right? It's like mentally, there's some ups and downs. It's nice I have all my family together, which is great. And my daughter got some chicks, so we have a box of baby chickens. So in case things get really bad, we might have eggs in a couple of months.
Nice. You got to be prepared. Well,
yeah.
Talking about that and being prepared, let's talk about Upload. And I want to let everybody know too. So I think it's phenomenal so far. But the description here is that it takes place in the near future where people can be uploaded into a virtual afterlife of their choice. But you came up with this concept 30 years ago while writing for SNL. What was it that inspired you to think about a digital afterlife back then?
Well, the thing that inspired me were ads for CD players, and they were doing a big thing about it's digital sound quality versus analog, and I'm trying to think of sketch ideas, so I'm exaggerating. I'm like, well, what would be the craziest thing that could be digitized? That is, and I figured, well, obviously, if we digitize our own selves, what would happen then? And it occurred to me that you could have a man-made afterlife, that people could program a virtual reality world and upload your consciousness into an avatar, and that would be your entire existence. But it would be kind of at the mercy of the game designers and what kind of companies would do that and stuff. And it was a much darker, sort of richer idea than an SNL sketch, So I always kept it in the back pocket, and whenever I was underemployed, I would kind of bring it out and work on it to try and make it into a book. But then after The Office wrapped, I started turning it into a streaming series. And I think it was really good that I waited, because all the technology, it was a lot harder to explain. When I originally pitched the idea, I was like, okay, you picture an MRI machine, but it's the best MRI machine ever. And it can record every single, neuron and connection in your brain. And then picture, World of Warcraft, but it's done for pleasure. It's not for killing. And, the pitch in the beginning was very complicated, but by the fact that it took so long, I think people are kind of more aware of the tech and the sci-fi side. And now I can kind of get deeper into the comedy of what would it actually be like. And, do you trust these big tech companies to give you the experience that you want? And is it a little creepy that it's all for pay, and it's not really very fair. And so there's like a lot of interesting things that it's easier to write about when you don't have to explain all the tech in such detail.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because the tech that's in it, it's right around the corner. A lot of what's in there, what you showcase in the series. I did want to ask you one question, because something that I think just even in the first episode that stands out to me is there's autonomous vehicles, and then there's 3D printed food, which both of those are not that far away. For you personally, if you had to choose between one of those to have right now, an autonomous car or 3D printed food, which one would it be?
Well, right now I'm not driving anywhere, so I'd 100% go with the 3D printed food. But I think when this horrible thing is over, I probably would take the car, because it would free up. I live in Los Angeles, and to be able to just sit in a car and watch a movie on the inside of the windshield instead of drive would be pretty fun. I think I did a lot of research at the consumer electronics shows of the last few years, and all of the technology except the upload technology. I think that there is like a prototype, or it might be coming right around the bend. So like there's a lot of drones, there's a lot of unusual drone use, and some of the jokes didn't get in to the show. Like I have ad campaigns in the subway scene for all of the different new technologies, and one of my favorites is a drone dog walking service, and it says, "Now you can sit and stay." And there's just a picture of a drone walking like dogs down the street. But most of it is I'm attempting to do stuff that I think will happen. There's also like a one-night stand scene that had to cut. Yeah, I was going to say there's a scene where people 3D print clothes too. So like if you sleep over at somebody's house and you want a fresh shirt, you can print one off their printer.
Yeah, I mean, it's all so close. There actually was a video of somebody walking their dog with a drone that did come out a couple of weeks ago. So you already guessed that ahead of the time too, I think. So yeah, there's a link out there.
Well, that's one of the weird things about doing a show set in the near future.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's one of the weird things about doing a show.
That it's all about here.
Yeah, and also the longer you wait, the more things start to happen that you were making a joke about. Like, for instance, in the show, in the pilot, which I shot 2 years ago or more, 2.5 years ago, there's a joke about one of the characters having vape lung, and I was making that up at the time. And at the time, vaping was supposed to be the safe alternative to smoking, but I was always like, well, it doesn't sound that good to me, so I just made up that this guy had vape lung, and I thought it was going to be like a just a joke about the future. And then like a year later, it comes out that there is a thing called vape lung. So that's happening a bunch of times. And then there's yeah.
I was going to say, you're like the Nostradamus. You're predicting tech ahead of its time. Since you have been able to so accurately guess a lot of this stuff, what do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years? What's something that you think is going to come to fruition?
Well, it seems to me like there's going to be a time of not that, you shouldn't turn to me because I'm trying to think of stuff to joke about it, not to, predict it. But I mean, I do think that it's going to be kind of weird in society to have a lot of jobs going into AI. And, I think that there's a lot of talk about, how easy it might be to transition people. Like everybody should learn to be a coder, but I don't think everybody temperamentally wants to be a coder. So, it'll probably be like a weird transition time where people are going to have to figure out new jobs to replace a lot of jobs, which, they don't lead with when they're bringing the new technology. The thing that I'm most scared about is there's this thing like kind of mind reading technology, that they're working on now, and it's being presented as this benefit for paralyzed people because the device will read your intentions and then they'll have your robotic arm, do whatever it's supposed to do. But it seems really like that'll be used to interrogate people. It just sounds like not something I'm excited to have happen.
Yeah, it does feel funny, like some of that stuff is, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's a comedy though, folks. Tune in. It's a big comedy, though. It's not going to be all about
It
that.
is. It's really funny. Yeah, I mean, there's it's great. Something I want to talk about too, just to ask you. Also, you have the premiere event, since obviously we can't have in-person events. Everything's virtual right now, which does actually almost work perfectly for Upload. But
It's perfect, right?
For this
All
event
the
later on
glitches.
today, we're gonna have the cast. Yeah.
Yeah, all the little glitches, like
Yes, exactly.
You know, I'm just anticipating that any glitch that happens is going to just be, perfect for telling the story, because it's, that happens to the characters once they're uploaded and they're in this, environment behind me. At various times, little glitches happen because it isn't perfect, and the bugs are, part of we try and get comedy off some of the bugs, the bugginess of it all.
And you do wonderfully too.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
I mean, and even now, we're having a delay in between each other. But Greg, I want to say,
well, at least we're doing
so much. This is perfect for advertising Upload too.
Yeah, at least we're doing it, right? I think that's one of the benefits and the positives of the Upload technology, is it's keeping us connected, and that's why the characters are so in favor of it, the ones that are, because it's allowing them to stay connected, with the people they love, which is, I think, the promise of it. So if we ever do get Upload, you can kind of sign me up for it. So.
Well, it's incredibly hilarious and perfectly timed right now for this release, and you've got tech involved too, which is just covers all the bases for me, and I know people are going to love it, and they can tune in. Well, today it's debuting on Amazon Prime today, but also the
right
event
now.
on
It's
Twitter
actually
later on today.
Yeah, it's up right now, so you can tune in. And I do think your audience would be the perfect audience for this show, and I hope people like it, and it's a good distraction for these kind of crazy times we're in.
It's all of those things. And Greg Daniels, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you do. You bring so many people joy and entertainment every day with even what you've done in the past, and now with this new show. Really, really appreciate it. And, a big thank you probably from everyone for everything you've done. And go watch Upload. It's on Amazon Prime. Watch this event later today. And thank you so much for being here on Digital Trends Live with us.
Yeah, no, this was fun. Thanks, Greg. I always happy to do anything with another person named Greg. There aren't that many of us, and we got to stick together, especially when it's spelled the way you're spelling it, which is.
There he was, Greg Daniels on Upload. Again, Greg's have to stick together. I can't remember if that made it into the cut or not, but he did say that to me, so I want to make sure that you were aware of that. All right, we've got more coming up here on this show, though, going from Amazon Prime with what they have going on. We're going to be going to Quibi. Yes, Quibi, the new service that launched just a couple of months ago, but they were able to get the entire cast of Reno 911 back together for new episodes. They are great, and we had Cedric Yarbrough here on the show, so he's coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thank you everyone for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. I'm Greg Nibbler. We broadcast live here every single weekday, so hit that subscribe button. And right now, I am very excited for our next guest. You know him from a million different TV shows, a million different movies, but certainly Reno 911. He's Deputy Jones, a.k.a. Jonesy, on there, and Reno 911 is back as of today on Quibi. I've already watched an episode. Joining us right now, we have Cedric Yarbrough. Cedric, thank you so much for being here with us. And the first question we're asking everybody is, how are you holding up during quarantine?
I'm hanging in here, man. I got a little facial hair. I thought I'd put a suit on here for you, Greg Nibbler. I wanted to look nice for you.
That,
You know,
yeah,
I,
you're looking great. And the best part is like you don't have the bottom shot, so it doesn't matter.
yes, but I am wearing pants. I wanted to complete the set. That's how I'm doing in quarantine. I'm going full out. I'm wearing both sets.
Nice. All right. Well, talking about Reno 911 returning, I want to ask, just how this all came about. How were you approached by it? And you got the whole cast back. Like, what was that like?
Uh, it was I don't know, it was a process where we have always wanted to come back. But we got some, not to toot our own horns, but got some heavy hitters on the show. And so we started working. Wendy McClendon Covey, who plays Clementine on the show, she's on the Goldbergs. Niecy Nash is on Claws. I've done a couple things here and there. Tom Lennon done a lot of we all were working, and so it was just kind of hard for us to get a schedule back and for us to all do the show again. But once we had some time and we found a format in Quibi that actually wanted us, we were elated. We couldn't wait to get back those weird, terrible colored costumes, put those back on, and to do the show. So, and now 11 years later, here we are. We are doing the show again, and it's really weird, really strange. But I think we caught lightning in a bottle again, and I think Quibi is a great format for this particular show.
Yeah, it is interesting with the 10-minute episodes, in case anybody doesn't know. So they're 10 minutes apiece. Like I said, I think you're right. It is a great format for Reno 911 in particular. But talking about getting everybody back together, for big fans, and I am one, I'm not going to hide that. What was it like, with the whole cast getting back together for that first time and interacting with each other after all those years? Did it come right back, or did it take time to get that rhythm again?
I was worried. I really was worried about us, getting our timing back. Those morning briefings are all improvised. We don't have a script that we're following there, and we're surprising each other. And so it was like a weird Super Friends type of atmosphere. You got Aquaman and Batman here, and Wonder Woman. Got all these guys with super strength and super powers now. With their comedic chops are on high, and we're all getting back together again. It was really fun and really exciting just to do it again. But it was nerve-wracking. I was a little worried that we just weren't gonna click like we used to, and we do. We still get each other's rhythms. I don't know exactly what Carlos Alazraqui is gonna say, but I know I can set him up for something, and he's just gonna smash it. And that's also one of the great things about doing a show for so long is that you kind of have a brand. You actually have a rhythm. Your guest stars actually kind of know what to expect when they come in to do a show like Reno 911, and as well as the the series regulars. We know what to expect as well, and so I'm really excited. I'm really excited that people get to see 3 episodes back to back to back today, and for the next week you get new episodes each day.
And yeah, there's 3 episodes, out today, again, on Quibi for everybody to check out. And talking about it, with this launching during quarantine, certainly social media is a way that a lot of people are connecting. I know you're active on Instagram quite a bit. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, how have you been using social media during quarantine?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a different way to connect to fans and connect to people that still want to be entertained, and especially during this time, people still want to laugh. It's kind of even more important now. It's a tough time out there. People are feeling it. I know I am. With family, And so to take a little mini break uh, and and to be a part of that is really fulfilling for someone like me. Someone complimenting me on I've had a rough time of this, but to be able to escape a little bit and watch like some old friends like the terrible Reno 911 cops really kind of brightens my day, and that feels good, man.
Yeah, I mean, and entertainment's so key right now. Everybody's looking for an escape, and certainly what you do helps out so many people with this, and in perfect timing, for Reno 911 to come back on top of that. Something along those lines, just to ask you this, if you had to be quarantined with one character from Reno 911, the actual character, who would you want to be quarantined with?
Oh man, I haven't heard that question at all yet, and it's man, that's tough because everyone's so bad. They're really, really terrible at everything. Um, I think are we talking about Jones or are we talking about Cedric here?
Either one. Either one. Let's say Cedric. Who would Cedric want to be quarantined with
Cedric,
if you had to pick one?
if I had to, um, I would be quarantined with Travis Jr. He, of course, is terrible. He's a bad shot, but at least he has a bulletproof vest on, and maybe I could borrow it. And that's as good as it's gonna get because everyone else is really bad, you know. Now Jones, I think Jones would probably quarantine with Clementine. Uh, you know, he's still very attracted to her. She's still very attractive. They drive each other crazy, but at least they would have each other. That's all I got.
That's fair enough. That all makes sense. Okay, one final question here too, just for a tech. That something that we ask everybody is, when it comes to tech, what's the one piece of technology that you couldn't live without right now?
Oh man, wow! It's a tie between this phone and this computer. I have so many Zoom meetings right now. Being able to, speak with you right now. This is my thing here. I got it right here on my spice rack, so I can have it nice and spinny here for you. So I gotta say, man, it's a tie between that phone and this. I'm gonna go with the phone right now because, hey, that's the only way you're gonna be able to see Reno 911 right now is on Quibi on your phone. So you gotta be able to have the phone.
Perfect. And with the action shots on the spice rack, I mean, you've kind of got it all set up right there, and the suit, the whole deal. Cedric, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today to talk about it. And again, I want to emphasize for everybody, it's out on Quibi right now. There's 3 episodes that are up of Reno 911, the whole cast back together. It's phenomenal. And just thank you so much for being here to talk about it with us.
Oh, man, no, thank you for having me. We got great guest stars, Tim Allen, Weird Al Yankovic, Ron Perlman, Patton Oswalt is back. I mean, you guys are going to love the show, and especially if you already love Reno 911. This is a bigger, better, just look in a smaller package, but it's really vibrant on Quibi. It's really fun. Thank you for having me.
Cedric Yarbrough, Jonesy from Reno 911, right here on Digital Trends Live as we continue on with this Memorial Day special, taking a look back at some of our favorite interviews that we have had over the last couple of months, and certainly one of them is the next one that's coming up, and it is Trevor May, Major League Baseball player who is also the commissioner of the MLB The Show Players Only League that happened. And we talked to him about what it's like to be in the hot seat, be in charge of all of his fellow players, and how he would handle disciplinary measures if he had to issue those out, and so much more. So that's coming up next. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. and we get to talk about all kinds of cool things on here. And as we know, the Major League Baseball season is postponed at the moment, just like everything else. But there is something that's going on, and that is the MLB The Show Players Only League that is happening. 30 players from 30 teams, all competing. And joining us right now, and of course I do have to say it's April 15th, which is Jackie Robinson Day. We have the commissioner of the MLB The Show Players League. We've got Trevor May joining us right now. Commissioner, thanks so much for being here. So here's what I want to talk about is just starting off with this. This is such a cool concept and cool thing that you guys are doing. But for you in particular, being the commissioner, I want to know how that happened. How did you get that role? Was it by you asking for it, or was it by demand of the other players that they demanded that you be the commissioner? How did that all take place?
Definitely wasn't by demand. Yeah, I asked for it. This was I've had a relationship with Sony, been a Sony partner for a couple years now, played the show a lot. During that partnership, I've been a Twitch streamer for going on 4 years partnered now. So I have a lot of experience in live streaming video games and kind of having one of those types of personalities. So, when the season got postponed, it was an idea that kind of immediately popped into my head. A lot of tournaments and things of that nature, like a lot of players wanted to play the show and give the fans a little bit of an opportunity to interact with them some and still have a little bit of a baseball experience, even if it is digital. And I was thinking just maybe we could go bigger than that. So we approached my team, and I approached them with the idea, and it kind of blossomed from there. And we got a lot of people involved with the PA and the MLB, and to kind of just find all the players. And a lot of guys were super excited to do it and have an outlet and have something to do. Something to look forward to every day. So yeah, it's been good. We've already noticed like the competitiveness coming out of guys real quick, especially if they haven't played the game much. It's frustrating immediately when you're not as good as you want to be. So making for some good stories.
Right, yeah, and that's actually talking about that, the frustration probably for some players who don't have your experience in playing this but are still just as competitive. I would think for the commissioner, do you anticipate any disputes happening? And if so, do you have a plan in place to handle those disputes?
I mean, it would be foolish to say that stuff wouldn't happen. It might, but hopefully we can handle that stuff with a little bit of humor. I'm tempted to just take it full dictatorship if it comes down to it, and just say, what I say goes. But obviously that's not how it works. So. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Cross the bridge when we get there. I'm really excited because there's some other stuff going behind the scenes that are going to make the league a little more fun, a little more stuff to talk about. That's pretty much all I can say at this moment. But as a commissioner, I get to announce some of this stuff, so I'm excited about that. But just to tease it, but in terms of disputes and things, I might just have to put my foot down and say, you know what, guys, this is how it's happening. You're in my house, and you got to listen to my rules.
I like it. I like the authoritarianism of that. So, well, talking about this, just how exciting it is for not only for the players, but also for all of us who are fans of sports and just have such a lack of that right now watching this. I do have to ask for you and getting to see this behind the scenes of the players actually competing and getting to hear them talk so far in the league, which has been going for several games now. Who has been talking the most smack?
I mean, it's got to be Amir Garrett. He's just so animated the whole time. I don't think it's even direct trash talk. There's still like everyone's just now getting their first round games in and kind of hanging out in like the Zoom call kind of situation with all the other guys playing that day. So there's a comfort level. A lot of us have never spoken to each other. Like we're on different organizations. Some guys don't have a lot of a big league time and haven't been around as long or played against all the teams yet, right? So, and they're just guys we've seen on MLB TV playing. So we're getting a certain comfort level, I think, where we're comfortable, like we would talk to our teammates, getting to that comfort level. So I think we're going to see it sharply incline, the old graph of trash talk, if you will, probably pretty soon. And then as we get into the playoffs, the guys who are pretty cocky, who win, who have 20+ wins, are all going to get going a little bit. And that's nothing but good for the league. So I hope it bleeds into social media, and there's videos and all kinds of feuds going. I hope that we really lean into that.
100%. I love that, hearing that when players are talking like that to each other. It's a lot of fun for everybody. It's all in good spirits. Talking about it now, you mentioned the playoffs with some teams that are going to have 20+ wins. Right now, do you see anybody who's a favorite or anybody that you think is going to be making the playoffs? If you had to do some rankings, where would that lie?
I memean, Gallo's 8-0, and not only that, he scored like 1,000 runs already. So he's gonna be probably the guy to dethrone. Bo Bichette 7-1. There's a few other guys who are 7-1 who went 4-0 yesterday. The league's kind of split between guys who have played MLB The Show, or like have a PlayStation even, and are like used to a PlayStation controller, and then like half the guys are like just bought a PlayStation for this, or they play Xbox usually. Well, they don't play a ton of games, but they like video games. So let's just put like there's like half pretty serious gamers, and then half that are pretty casual. And so those casual guys, though, are realizing that they don't have their competitive outlets, so they're trying to be more than casual now. So I think things are going to change a little bit. Like, guys are going to come out of the woodwork, start playing a lot better in the next week or two, because they're going to be putting a lot of time, off the stream and outside of the league into it. But I would say Gallo's probably the favorite at the moment. Blake Snell's been grinding like crazy. He went 2-2 in his first weekend. I think we had it was me and Blake and Amir and Gallo. I think we had several of the guys with the most experience in the game all in the first day. And so, those were probably some of the better players. And then it's kind of shaken out to where, we're kind of in the top half of the league at the moment. So, but I went 1-3 in my first day. I was extremely disappointed in my first, demonstration of my skills. So, but I like to play the underdog. I've always been a big underdog guy. So maybe I was just putting myself in that seat. So we'll see. But Gallo's probably the guy everyone's chasing at the moment. Everyone wants a piece of.
So Gallo leading the way right there. Like you said, 8-0. I got to ask you, for you, playing the game, and you've been playing the game for a long time, but what is it like playing as yourself in something like this? Is it surreal? Do you agree with the portrayal, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it was surreal at the beginning. First seeing yourself in a video game, that's kind of, I grew up playing a lot of video games too, and especially baseball games. So like, that was part of my visualization of playing at this level, was from video games, like imagining myself in a game. So that's a realization of a dream, almost as much as actually being on the field for the first time in the major leagues. So I got to experience that twice. But since then it's become kind of normal, and and I am a little bit like, I bring myself in the game, and sometimes my command isn't there, and I just don't know what these guys think of me when they made me in here, and that maybe my command isn't the best, but I got good stuff. And so and it's frustrating, man. I throw myself twice, and I have not pitched well either time. So maybe it's something mentally that for whatever reason you just don't want to mess up with yourself. But yeah, I got one blown save, and I've won one blown game so far in the league, and it was me pitching when it happened. So yeah, I mean, it's great. It's really cool. You get used to it a little bit. I think I've been in the game since 2011, because when you're in AA, they started putting the minor league guys in. And so I'm kind of used to it at this point, but I try to have some perspective and think that's pretty dang cool.
We have one final question here too. This one was proposed. So, would you rather pitch a perfect game in MLB The Show against one of your competitors here, or strike out Mike Trout in real life?
Oh, smart. Strike out Mike Trout, because he's going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest player of all time, probably. And that's something like I'll be able to tell my grandkids, because they'll know who he is. So, like, it's the same as the guys who played against, back in the 50s, 60s. Right now, some of those great players. Like, if you struck out Rod Carew in your life, like, that's something that you're gonna always remember. You're gonna tell everybody forever, because that guy didn't strike out. So, and I am lucky enough to say that I have done it once in my career, so I will be able to tell my kids that. But yeah, he's a special player. He's a once in a generation player. So, yeah, the real thing is always gonna trump the video game for sure.
Yeah, which does make sense. Well, Trevor, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, and it's really entertaining what you've got here, and I appreciate your control over the league as commissioner to keep everybody in line and to make sure it's all going well. We've got the link right there for everybody to watch. There's games. I believe are you playing today?
I play tomorrow. Yeah, I
play tomorrow.
I don't know who the prime time. So we have primetime games Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So Robert Flores comes on and kind of hosts the show, and then one guy who has built kind of a fairly high quality stream that can kind of handle being kind of the primetime guy. He plays everybody, and then they bring everybody in, kind of, so you can watch the games both point of views. And that's they try to produce that 3 times a week. So tonight, I don't know who the quote unquote primetime game is, but I was primetime on Monday, so now I'm on Thursday. I play kind of on my own stream.
Nice. Well, Trevor, thank you so much for being here on Digital Trends Live. Really appreciate you joining and talking about all this. It's a lot of fun, and thanks a lot, and best of luck with the season. Hope to see you in the playoffs for this and taking down Gallo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeed. Trevor May here on Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is our Memorial Day special, taking a look back at some of our favorite interviews that we've had here on the show over the last couple of months, and this next one is definitely one of mine. You know him from Blink-182, but he's also the founder of the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. It's Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge was here on the show talking about those revelations about the UFOs, some of the footage that was out there, the acknowledgement from the Department of Defense, and a bunch of other things that we cover during this interview. It is really, really cool, so you're going to want to stick around for that, and that's what you can do is join in the conversation with everybody else watching as well. On whatever platform you're on, hit that subscribe button. We'll be right back after this with Tom DeLonge on Digital Trends Live. Thank you very much for joining us. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're at. And you know our next guest from his incredible legacy in rock and music, with being one of the co-founders of Blink-182, Angels and Airwaves, but also he is the co-founder and CEO of To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. And they previously released videos of UFOs filmed by U.S. Navy pilots. And just this week, according to the Department of Defense, the aerial phenomena observed in the videos remain characterized as unidentified, confirming these videos. That is an incredible accomplishment on its own. Joining us right now, we have Tom DeLonge. Tom, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. One of the things we're asking everybody, and in particular people who are usually outperforming and out on the road, is how are you holding up during quarantine?
I'm doing okay. You know, I thank you for asking. I think that I have it better than a lot of people have it because I have a little bit of space here and I got some windows to see, you know, the sky and to see some trees and stuff. You know, I had a few friends that got sick, but they were all okay. One person that got pretty sick was Lou Elizondo, that works for me, that came from the Pentagon, that ran the UFO program for the U.S. government. He got it pretty bad, but he came out of it okay, and he got it early on. And then some other friends of mine, like, you know, they just go, oh, my legs hurt. Like I went for a run, and like that was it. They had like no fevers or anything like that. So all in all, we're doing well. My family's healthy, and we're just waiting for these beaches to stay open.
Right. Yeah, that's the most important thing, is being healthy and staying safe. Talking about, though, To the Stars and what an incredible thing this was this week. So you released these videos back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, respectively, these 3 different videos. And now this week with this Department of Defense, the Pentagon basically saying that, yeah, no, this is confirmed. We don't know what these are. When that came through, how did you feel about that? What went through your mind when you received that public confirmation of these?
Well, you know, we had a little bit of traction on these videos a couple years ago when the New York Times confirmed them. And then the Navy came out a handful of months later and said that these are real unidentified aerial phenomena, and that unidentified flying objects are real, and that was a big deal, and that happened about a year ago. And so then now the Department of Defense, which obviously sits higher than the Navy, published the videos and is confirming it and doing the same thing, but on a larger scale. And, a lot of people are reaching out to me saying, oh my God, you feel so like vindicated and stuff. And I tend to tell people that, on like an ego level, I'm just like, I told you guys, but really the other 99% of me that cares about this subject is more, I have more compassion for people that are just kind of coming into this. They don't know much about it. It's going to be a little scary, a little unnerving for some people. It's going to make a lot of people question their belief systems. It's going to change kind of what you think about, who we are as human beings and the path we're on and where we're going. And those types of things will rock people's world, and there's some good that comes with this subject, but there's also some bad, and so I think, from my point of view, I just want to, keep working really hard with my team at To the Stars to be able to, the company was built as a vehicle to exploit the technology, communicate the stories, and further the study of this, because there's a lot we don't know. And I just want to focus on that and get people through this hump.
Well, looking at this, with these videos, just to kind of, because I want to talk about what it is that you're working on too, but to get just a little bit more of an understanding, do you have theories on the origin of these objects in this video?
Not the origin. I have a lot of, obviously I have a lot of inside knowledge just because of the people I share company with. And I do know a lot about the subject because I've been researching it for decades. I've been brought into a couple different groups of people that are responsible for the subject with the U.S. government. But, to try to guess exactly where they're from when looking at an object like that on a camera, it's too much of a leap, to pretend that you would know who's piloting this thing or where it's exactly from. We're not doing that as a company. As an individual, if I'm having a beer with some friends or something, I would be able to say, well, look, these are the things that we think, or that are being talked about in certain circles, but it's not for an interview like this, from the company To the Stars standpoint is much more of like, what scientifically can we prove? How do we, get our government to create a system that's accountable and goes all the way up to Congress? And how do we gather the data, and how do we put in the national security policy that's necessary for our pilots and other civilians that are having encounters with these things? I think that the big thing that we've done as a company is we've built an artificial intelligence system called the Vault that is a machine learning algorithm that's extremely advanced, and it's going to help us with some of the who, what, where, when, why of this, and give us kind of a scientific methodology of sorts to be able to get to the bottom of some of these questions.
Talking about that with the technology that you're building with AI, do you think that is going to expedite the timeline of finding out? I mean, clearly, I guess, finding out a little bit more about these, but do you anticipate more videos, more evidence being released in a quicker timeline?
Yeah, because, basically when the U.S. government, is doing something that's classified or doing something that's a little bit, when they're doing something where no one's noticing what they're doing, they're gonna stick at it. They're not gonna go out and talk about it. That's not their job. Their job is to solve problems, national security problems, or take care of us civilians in various ways. But when you actually can point the finger at something specific like this video, and the radar data and the pilots and all the testimonies and all the documents or whatever, they're not allowed to lie. It's illegal for them to lie. Now they can skirt the issue if it's classified. They can say no comment, but if they come out and actually lie, that's a federal offense. These guys work for us. So I think now that we have these videos and we're able to bring this out, and To the Stars Academy was heading up all the briefings over on the Hill. We set up the briefings for senators and congressmen and a lot of other places in the government. And now that everyone's learning about this and learning what's been going on, I think that we're in a really good position to see more videos, to see more evidence. To the government now is I don't say the government as a whole. The whole government doesn't work together like some one big beautiful organism. It's not like that. It's like you got to think of it as this multi-trillion-dollar corporation that has all these divisions. You look at Disney, they have Marvel. That's probably a 20-30 billion-dollar division of Disney. Now, what Marvel is doing, Disney might not really know everything about, or whatever. So you got to think of the government as,
Right.
Different programs and things happening. Now that this, a small group of people knew about this stuff, it's starting to go everywhere. And I think they're running around saying, wow, now we really can't skirt this issue anymore. Now we really must acknowledge it, deal with it. The cat's out of the bag, and you can't put the cat back in the bag with something like this. So I think we're going to see a lot more, and I think it's going to change the world. And I've been saying this for 3 years now, that there's a lot coming, and I really mean it. There's a lot more coming. I can't get into it, but it's going to be a wild ride, and it's going to have profound effects on our society.
Wow. Now I really want to know what it is, but obviously I've got to wait. For you, something else I wanted to ask you too, and this just has to do with space travel in general and the advancements of the space programs, and in particular commercial space travel. It's going to be possible to go up into space soon as a tourist in a much easier fashion. Is that something you would want to do? Do you want to go to space personally?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to go to a submarine. I'm thinking like, you have 1 inch of metal or glass next to death. It seems pretty scary to me. But I think I think that if we were to do, one of the things we're after at To the Stars Academy is advanced propulsion using magnetics and getting into things that are opposite of combustion engines and doing a more divine propulsion system that's works in harmony with the natural system of the earth. And I think once we did something like that and mastered that, it would be a different story to get people into space. Like now on a rocket that can explode going 17,000 miles an hour with all the friction and vibrating, and one little tile comes off on reentry and you burn up. It's just like, that's a lot of risk for a guy like me. But if you master this propulsion, which we think is doable, and this isn't just coming from me, this is coming from one of the top 3 guys at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. This is coming from the physicist that was the head physicist on the UFO program at the Pentagon. This is coming from the guy that ran the UFO program, and all these guys are at To the Stars. They think that we can crack this. And if you crack this propulsion, it essentially pushes out a bubble of space-time around the craft, so you don't have any inertia, you don't have any friction, you don't have any of the issues of reentry where you're burning up. Now, is it easy? No, it's complicated. You're essentially, copying a natural system of something like the sun, or spinning counterclockwise, different electromagnetic fields, and you need extreme voltages, and there's going to be a lot of risk, creating that stuff. But I think once we get to that spot, I think it'll be a much safer play to go into space. And maybe I'll just wait for that, because this is something we can do in the next 10 to 15 years. And people got to think of SpaceX. Elon Musk started SpaceX, and he had rockets, and he was going in within about 10 or 11 years, and he stuck with it. And no one thought he can do it. Everyone thought he was crazy. So that's not that far off, So that's what we're asking people to do, is to support that, and we will bring this technology out to the world. Is what the goal has always been.
I love the idea that's science fiction, thinking about something like that, creating a bubble around what you have, and being able to use propulsion in that way is now possible as a reality. I know. I want to ask you something else too, just to switch gears here, just for a second. Just something that you posted on Twitter. I'm a rock fan. I'm a fan of space, but you mentioned that aerospace and rock music go together, and they are symbiotic. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I look at actors, and actors kind of have this job where you're not really supposed to know who they are as people, because you want to believe them when they play their character in a movie, But when you look at, and then you look at pop acts and performers, other people write their stuff, and it's really popular, and it's fun, and they dance well, they sing well, and the songs are really catchy and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a different thing as well. But then rock and roll is different. Rock, we're kind of, our job is to know who we are, know what we stand for, and really put it out there. And then you kind of identify with your musician. You know, when you're in high school, it's like, okay, I want to dress like that band, or I want to hang out with people that listen to music like that band. And it kind of becomes, you know, a culture or a tribe around you and your buddies. And I think that we, you know, we have a voice. The Beatles proved this in the 60s, and so many other bands, Woodstock, when they stand up for something they believe in and they really put themselves out there, it can really matter. It's funny, though, because when you look at Angels and Airwaves, the band that I'm doing right now, that is my priority. That is my main band. But people know me from Blink 182, obviously, but I stopped to do all the To the Stars stuff. But Angels and Airwaves has always been an art project that's wanted to communicate large themes of the human race and the infinite possibility of space. Because if space was truly infinite, then that means there's no end to what could be happening out there. And that always excited me. I always wanted to look up and notice that stuff. But I gotta be the only guy that used all these space themes and used all of this kind of dreaming up all this stuff that deals with, you know, who we are, where we're going, and what else is out there. I got to be the only guy that stopped that for a quick second and created a real aerospace company, you know, and then put together a vehicle with this team to bring out the biggest space secret of all time, and then jump right back in and keep doing the space rock thing. You know, it's kind of funny. At least I'm being me, I guess, is the point, you know. Better for better or worse, you know.
Yeah, Bowie didn't stop Ziggy Stardust and go launch a rocket company. So I think you are, you know, you probably are the first one to do that.
But Bowie didn't need to. You know, he was already a god, I guess.
That is true. Well, Tom, I want to say thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. I feel like I can talk to you for hours about what you're doing. It's really, really fascinating with To the Stars Academy, what you've accomplished so far. And I want to find out more about the tech that you're working on. I want to find out more about the music. We've got tothestarsacademy.com, so that's, I'm assuming, we're the best place for people to go to and follow along with what you're doing.
Yeah, tothestarsacademy.com. And just so people know, you know, essentially what we're building, you know, humbly say this because I don't have a better example at the moment, but it's like a Disney and a Lockheed Martin together. Can we make the things we're putting on film? But the science division in itself, though, is really meant to encourage, you know, the world to come along and learn with us. Now, there's more, like, we already have some sensitive defense contracts. There's going to be some classified stuff down the road. So not everything we do can be discussed, but the majority of it can be. And UFOs are not the only thing we do. You know, we have big film franchises that deal with consciousness and dreams and so on. We have a lot of products that we're launching that can help with the pandemic. And so you're going to see, we just did something, I think it was yesterday, about, you know, a truck that can lift up these big screens and help people in humanitarian crises and everything, and big LED screens and whatever that can be deployed to trouble hotspots. But, you know, there's some other things we're launching in the next couple of weeks as well. And I think what people need to realize is, you know, it's a real company. We're doing a lot of real stuff, but the heart and the soul and the North Star is understanding unidentified aerial objects. And the reason is you got to think about Elon Musk, or not Elon Musk. You got to think about like Sergey, however you say his name, with Google. You know, I always use this analogy that he was, you know, there when someone was creating the internet, and he was just like, okay, I see something here, and I think it's about search. And everyone's like, search? What are you thinking? What are you talking about? The internet's going to be big, and no one trusted it. Well, he was on the tip of a spear with a complete paradigm shift technology that was changing the world, that would change the world. Well, this is the same thing. You know, whether or not people want to believe it, it doesn't matter. The Navy admitted it was real. The Department of Defense admitted it was real. The videos came out. We have exotic material that we went under contract with the U.S. Army and other areas of the U.S. government. So if it's not the material evidence, if it's evidence, and it's not the videos, and if it's not the Navy and then the DOD all admitting it's real, you know, people, they need to understand it's as real as the phone we use every day. It's coming. And they better brace themselves and get ready. But our company, To the Stars Academy, is meant to be at the tip of the spear when all this happens. And that could be a really, really big deal, to grab all this stuff and understand it, exploit it, and be the first one in. And that's really what we're trying to do.
Wow. Well, it's incredible what you've done so far, and it's a lot to think about, too, with just what you said, you know, being at the tip of the spear, what could be coming, and clearly you're at the forefront of it and thought about this ahead of time. And Tom, thank you very much for joining us. I really, really mean that. I really appreciate you being here and what you're doing And I want everybody to follow along with what you're doing and go to the website, follow along Angels and Airwaves. I know you've got new music coming out, a new song that's out with the proceeds going to help benefit COVID-19, all of that happening. And Tom, thank you very much for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Hey, thank you for having me so much.
And there we go, Tom DeLonge here on Digital Trends Live again for our Memorial Day special, just taking a look back at some of our favorite interviews that have happened over the course of this show in the last couple of months. And there's a lot more ahead because we are back live tomorrow. Back live as we usually are with the trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and everything else that you expect from this show. And so what I would like to ask you to do is hit subscribe on whatever platform you're watching on. It doesn't matter which one. Hit the subscribe button, share the show, but then you get notifications when we go live. And we will be back. And there's all kinds of great things lined up for us in the future and going ahead with this. And so thanks for being a part of this. I want everyone to have a good Memorial Day. And we will be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.